Welcome to MSP Unplugged, The Return. I'm your host, Paco LeBron. This is our live show where we discuss different ways to run your IT business, whether it's managed services, consulting, break fix, or anything in between. Before we go into introducing our co-hosts, I'd like to go ahead and do a quick little call to action to TechCon Unplugged. And that's in 2021, September 17th through the 19th at the beautiful Aloft Hotel. Learn from amazing panels to help and maintain, improve your business, meet vendors to find products and services that help save you time and money, and rub elbows with your peers in the community because, as Jeff likes to say, press the flesh. We can't really do that in these times right now. However, we did get news that Chicago and Illinois are on pace, I should say, to being reopened fully in July 4th for right in time for that. So we'll have a couple months in there to kind of fill out everything that's going on, and we'll hopefully be having a great show in September here. Go over to techconunplugged.com. You can purchase your ticket for $199. All right, let me go ahead and introduce our co-host. We have the one, the only, John Dubinsky. John, how are you?
Hey, Mr. LeBron, I'm doing well. I have you 5x5. I like the Columbia sweatshirt. I mean, I don't like the sweatshirt. I don't know what that's all about, but other than that, it's great.
It's a little chilly here in Chicago, a little chilly. It's a beautiful, balmy 42 degrees, as another co-host likes to talk about their weather in their state. We also have Rick Smith over at Renactus Technologies. Rick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Glad to be here.
Very good, very good. So, I kind of want to start this off with and you may have been seeing a lot of engagement, a lot of things kind of bubbling up on the Facebook group, as you've seen, and on the post that I had. John is officially joining us back into not only the podcast, but the business itself. And I'll have him kind of share a little bit more on his return, because that's kind of what Jeff titled this episode about. So we'll go ahead and gear some of that. Yeah, I know Jeff is we miss him here. And for those who are wondering, where is Jeff? Jeff unfortunately had to work today, so that's why I'm at the steering wheel today. So hopefully we'll just go ahead and just not let our hands go and let Jesus take the wheel. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and move forward. But yes, as I was mentioning, there's a lot of changes that we're working on, and these are changes that we have received from the community. So we have been hard at work to really understand kind of what needs to be improved on not only the podcast, but also on a lot of the things that we're doing right now, especially a lot of plans that we have in the future. So thus us getting John involved, speaking with a lot of our community members, also in the Facebook group. So you'll notice that there's a lot more activity going on there right now. And especially when it comes up to our show in TechCon that I just talked about, we are trying to make sure that this is a show that's not only an in-person show that's worth your money spending of the ticket price, of the hotel stay, but just all around great information, the vendors you meet, things of that nature. So, as Jeff has alluded many times, that I kind of help procure a lot of the vendors that appear. And I'm looking for vendors that I'm hoping will be of benefit to you guys and gals. That's really the purpose of having these vendors there. We're not taking just anybody. We have had vendors approach us to sponsor. Unfortunately, I just felt that they just were not part of what would the community really benefit from, just either on a price point or just, what they were offering. And, we wanted, and really the purpose of TechCon, why we started it in the first place, was we didn't want to be just that one show that had all of these vendors and we were a vendor-centric show. We wanted to be a show that was both on the community side, but also stressing to the community to buy into the vendor side so that there's an equal partnership to help mutually grow both. So we do have a lot of big players that are attending this year. We also have a lot of independent players that are participating at the conference this year as well. But again, all in all, we're hoping to get that engagement and the investment of not only in their business, but of them to us so that we can succeed. But with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to John. because we're going to introduce the tips and stories section again in this show as one of the things that we are changing. That was something that we cut out a little bit ago. It was commented to bring that back drastically. So we are bringing that back today. So I will go ahead and toss it over to John for his tip and or story.
Well, I'll go slow today with only a couple tips. First of all, don't forget about the Facebook group and our Patreon page to get into there. I want to give a little shout out to Kyle Kenyon. We've been having a good raid discussion over in the group, so that's something you can look forward to as we sort of reactivate or hopefully re-energize that group. Well, for my tips today, I've got three little ones. A lot of times, obviously, cybersecurity is top on our list. So there's a little website out there called Is Legit Site. I'm not sure if that is grammatically correct, but Is Legit Site is a website where you can go plug in a URL or your website domain, and it uses APIs to pull from Blacklists, Web of Trust, a bunch of other sites to basically give you a rating on the site, based not only on others' reviews, but on those blacklists that I discussed and all that. I wouldn't call it a definitive source of whether a site is legit or not, but it's a great place to start and at least get some information. A little caveat on this site, though, it does have a nice load of ads on it. So you might have to plow through a couple of those to get it to go. Somebody's trying to monetize a little bit there, but somebody put the time in to make it for us. So I like that a lot. The next site I have is a little tip. Is a site called dnschecker.org. Of course, as the name implies, you can check all things DNS with this site, but it doesn't stop there. What I really like about it, if you hit their all tools page, they have a great list of items: DNS tools, IP tools, developer tools, webmaster tools, networking tools, cybersecurity tools, all sorts of things, all free to use, all very impactful and well done. And, down at the bottom, scroll to the bottom of that list, they have a nice little handy tool if you want to download a Vimeo or Facebook video from those sites. They have little tools to do that too. And the last thing I have is maybe for a little fun, is notificationsounds.com. If you want to jump onto that page, you want to change the ringtone on your phone if your significant other is calling in, just to give you a heads up without looking, you can do that. There's literally hundreds of notification sounds and ringtones on this sound, all for free. And they're downloaded in the format. There's no special app you have to download, and they have all the formats listed there for you to choose from. So those are my three quick tips for the show.
Very cool. I think for, the first one you mentioned, is this site legit? That brought to mind on, a lot of the DNS filtering products that we use, like DNS Filter, there's WebRoots, there is WebTitan or Titan HQ. There's a section on there that sometimes will say block all new domains. And then there's oftentimes when you get the report of, hey, I can't get to this website because your DNS filtering product has blocked it. I think this is a great asset because you could take that URL that they're reporting, plop it in there, and really make sure that it's a legitimate website, because we really should be investigating to see if it's legitimate, because last thing we want to do is we whitelist that domain and it turns out that it is a bad news, and then all of a sudden you got a problem on your hands. So definitely great.
That is a great point, because that is one of the metrics that site checks for, how new that site is. So that's a thumbs up on that for sure.
Yep. So definitely great. And then as you mentioned, all the other tools for those to check out, we will make sure that those are going to be in the show notes, because we will have show notes again. As mentioned, John is glorious enough to help us with that, because he has helped us with that in the past. And we will make sure that these items will be in there as well. We're going to go ahead and kick it off to Rick. Rick, do you got a tip or a story for us this week?
Well, just a quick tip, not as intricate, but I found for me something new. I got a lot of projects going on right now in the office, and the way I plan everything, I'm old school. I got, if you can see my desk, is 5 notepads, and I write everything down. So somebody tells me something, I write it down, and then when I'm searching for it, I'm flipping through the pages trying to find exactly where I wrote that note. Somebody gives me an idea, or I have an idea, I write it down. But I've got a bunch of projects going on right now, just some things we're doing internally, and I was looking for something to basically put it out, for me and my team, so that we could work collaboratively together on it. And in doing some search, I came up with a couple of different different recommendations. Monday was one. I think one was called Aurora. I think it was called or something like that. And then as I'm going through those, I think I went to YouTube to look up one, and then I went to YouTube actually to just look up Monday just to see a quick demo of it. And Microsoft Planner came across as a choice. So I clicked on that and I was like, wow, I can get this. I don't have to pay for it. Clicked on that and it actually is great. I just implemented it yesterday, but I've got 3 projects in there already that we're working on. My girl who was working for me saw all of this stuff pop up on her. She just started clicking off things because it just popped up on her, but she saw it, and which was great. One of the good things that it integrates into Outlook, also integrates into Teams, so you can pull it up there. We're thanks to Paco now, I'm really converted to to using Microsoft Teams. So it integrates right into Teams, so you can work rather than having to go back online. You can work in Planner right through Teams. So it's anyone I'm sure people have probably heard of it, but if you haven't, check it out, Microsoft Planner. I think you might like it.
Yeah. So we use Microsoft Planner here, and it's been really helpful, especially as a task list. Has been really helpful, and then I think it's really cool because, like you mentioned, so we're big Teams people here in the business, and I mean we utilize. I think everyone can agree that Teams is going to end up being the new Outlook. Like everything is going to go in there, and it's unfortunate because the damn thing is so heavy. But I've heard reports that they're going to be lightening that load of how heavy that application is. But you can actually add your planner that you have designated to yourself in Teams. So if you are creating multiple planners and things of that nature, you have the ability to add that planning board, your own planning board to yourself. And then you also can open up new tabs on different teams. So if you're in a different team or a different channel, you can also hit that plus button. And not only can you add your planner in there, but you can also add specific SharePoint libraries as well. So if you are using SharePoint for your documentation internally, you can go ahead and add the little tab there, and you'll have access to all the stuff that's in particular sites. So like for us, we have the SharePoint library for our marketing team that we have for our outsourced marketing. We have in our sales, we have a tab for all like the sales video training and things of that nature for them to access. So everything is essentially in one spot. And you don't have to go to like the 15 million apps inside the admin center / dashboard. And that is one of the bigger issues that we run into. And this is kind of what Rick had alluded to, is that we're trying to use more and more of the services that Microsoft have to offer. And the reason for that is because if we can do that and it's efficient and it works well in a lot of the other things, we can deploy that to our clients to allow us to make them more efficient. And it just makes us look like the good guys, right? Because, I have always been taught as far as a sales and an engagement process, there's a holy trinity of sales. You either want to help a business either make more money, reduce their cost, or expand their market share, meaning expand their business in other areas, things of that nature. As IT providers, IT business owners, MSPs, MSSPs, however you want to classify yourself, we easily can help with the reducing of cost, just because we can eliminate all of the nonsense and other additional subscriptions that they're purchasing if they want to keep everything in-house. And then it allows us to help protect them better because it's one-stop shop, and we can make sure that if anything funny is happening, it's in one house that we have to kind of perimeter kind of control and things of that nature. So I leave you with that. And then also, like Rick said, we've been using, we actually are trying to utilize Microsoft Bookings. So Microsoft Bookings is similar to Calendly, what are some other URLs? Basically like a calendar bridge that will help sync your calendar, but it's a link that you can provide to someone else so that they can go ahead and book an appointment with you. But the cool part is that you can have it set up where it'll book with the team as a round robin. You can go ahead and book it for yourself. You can add individual sections for them to click on. So it's very intuitive. It looks really great from what I can see. And then we're also using HubSpot. So we have some of their calendar features as well that we're trying to figure out. So all in all, trying to get all those kind of synced up. You just have so many programs to deal with, right? You have so many software. And so the goal is to try and consolidate a lot of that, but to do it securely, right? Because I think for one example, keeping documentation, which we may dabble in a little bit later, we made the internal decision to separate that out from our PSA. Just because more of the information that's happening and, I'd rather go to bed, at night and actually have some sleep and not have to worry about it at night. But that's kind of my thing. So those are my little tips there. And then the story I can say is that, the value of having help. And what I mean by that is having help with either another staff member, a team member you may have as an employee, subcontractor, or a buddy or another IT company that you partner with to help you in a pinch when you're into something. And I think we all can probably talk to this subject as well. I had an issue this way yesterday where I had to speak at an event at a virtual conference, Channel Pro. Channel Pro had their Midwest show yesterday. So I was speaking in a session there, but I had a client that had a PC that was down. And this was a new client. So, for me to kind of prolong that main key computer to be to have a prolonged visit, I felt wouldn't have made me look as well to the client, just because I'm trying to juggle everything there. So my tech who I have is remote, so he obviously wouldn't be able to assist on a hardware there. And then our local tech that we had here didn't really work out, so we're looking to fill that position right now. So I was in a bit of a pinch, so I called my buddy Andres, which a lot of the network knows that I'm very good friends with, who runs Green Inc. And so he was available. But the great part about this was, as I was in the middle of me speaking, I had my head of office operations receive the ticket, coordinate with Andres to get the onsite going. Once it goes from there, sends out. Once he go ahead and gets that sent out, he will go ahead and he was able to get down there, figure out what the issue is, identified the issue, assured the client on what was going on, reported back to the office manager. They took care of everything. So when I got off of the call or on the webinar, I went ahead, or the conference, jumped in. I asked what was going on. They were like, yep, it's taken care of. We got a PC ordered and it's going to go there. So that's such a great feeling to know that you can have something self-efficient like that. And I think that's very important, especially if you're a one-man show. You are a business owner that kind of hold all the hats, on how important it is to not only just delegate, but to partner to help you with certain things like this. So again, when I was just myself, this is how I would operate, but having that and leaning on people like that are great, especially when you have those processes in place. But yeah, that was some story. I just wanted to say that was a really great weight off my shoulders to do that. And it just ended up working out. Everything worked out the way it did. So, John, I know that you had something similar with this, with a local VoIP company that you had with VoIP service when phone issues would happen, and they kind of managed all that for you. Any stories for that, because obviously you mentioned before that you just didn't want to deal with phones, right? So partnering with a local phone company helped you in your business.
My VoIP provider was just a great technical partner as far as the services they delivered. It wasn't a pass off. When I had a problem, it was more like a complementary solution where they were already part of my team. I mean, I've already told the story where I remember one of my largest orthodontic customers, they were using this VoIP service and they were having phone issues. And literally my VoIP provider sent the tech over to the office, and he sat there the entire day doing all sorts of troubleshooting and all sorts of stuff. And it was determined they had a problem on their end, so they took care of it. That's the kind of partnership here with that. What I think you're discussing is, I had a good partnership like this with a larger tech firm than me back in Michigan. And they had about 55 guys. So they were huge compared to me as a solo tech. But what that enabled me is when I was on maybe vacation, or if I was at TechCon 2019 and I needed boots on the ground, I could actually call somebody or put a ticket in with this provider, and they would roll a truck for me. So, that's the kind of partnership. I think you need. I think what you're saying is the value of having help. Whether you're a solo tech or a team of techs, it really takes a team to succeed. Because God forbid something happens to you, you're down, you get your second COVID shot, you can't move the day after. You might need somebody to at least show up and grab some hardware and then just bring it back to you. However that works.
Yep. No, excellent. Rick, how have you kind of, I know we've talked many a times where, you just have been bogged down with so many things, and you sought out help and it sounds like you got the help, right? What prompted you on that, and how has that been so far for you in your day to day?
Well, it's very similar. So if you find, one of the things is you there's enough clients out here, so your first worry is, I don't want this guy in my business. He might try to steal my customer. But you find that that was my first thought when I first needed to do this, which was a while back now. But you find that it's just like this community here. Everyone's really actually willing to help. And, it's a trade-off, because I do the same thing for him now. So I have one person that I can rely on. If I'm in a pinch, I can say, hey, can you send someone to handle this for me? And 9 times out of 10, he can get it done within, an hour or two, can get someone down there to take care of it for me. So, and vice versa. If he calls me, if I'm not extremely busy, I'm going to go do the call for him. So it's always good to have those relationships with other techs. I think it's just, it's only beneficial. And I think, as long as you're working with the right people, right, good, honest people, which we all are, or we all strive to be, you don't have to worry about them, trying to infiltrate your business or, take your customers. But really, it's just it's a give and take relationship, and it only benefits you both. And then you can actually go to sleep at night sometimes without worry, or actually take a day or two for that V word vacation, which some of us never get to do. But it helps sometimes. So
yeah, no, I mean, I think you hit on a couple good points, right? And I think that a lot of us, and including myself, before I started getting involved in the community, that there's competition, right? And you're worried about the other guy stealing your customers, knowing your plans and stuff like that. And Jeff had made a good point many years ago where if a client is to leave you to another customer and they were to go ahead and take off because of price, they were never really a real customer to begin with, or just the value, they just did not see the value, right? And that's a learning lesson on both ends, right? One, could you have done more? And then 2, if it really was solely on price, they were never invested in to begin with. And you should find yourself customers that are into you and want to make sure that they're going to invest in, like I said with TechCon, investing in partners, and the other way around, then they invest in you, right? So, I mean, John could probably speak to this of, how long was your longest customer before you left the business?
Believe it or not, I had customers for the entire 25 years I was in business.
And that just shows you on how much of value that John brought to them, but that they saw the value as well and wanted to return that in their loyalty. So it just shows you on that piece of how important it is to just understand that finding the right client, right? And I think we all have to go through that. There's not just a silver bullet to know who's a client for you. You got to kind of figure that out. And that's your right as the business owner. You should not have to take on clients because the money is good and you hate it. You have the decision, not the other way around, because if you didn't, then you could just easily go back to work in corporate America and then just do your 9 to 5 for the price and, not like it anywhere and not have to deal with a lot of the stress that you have as a business owner. The other piece that I wanted to point out too is the fact that, we talk about how really trying to understand how to partner and how to work with other clients with other MSPs. And I could tell you that a lot of our growth on our side is we partnered with a bigger MSP that allowed us a lot of the growth in our early years. And had it not been for that relationship, it may have been a slower growth or may not have been as successful as I am now. And so it's so important to just, if someone is reaching out to you and you have a good feeling about it and they seem like good people, take that chance and see if you want to work with them, because 9 times out of 10, you may end up finding 2 things. 1, they're a great referral source, or B, they might like doing services that you absolutely hate, and you can leverage them to do that and make a little bit on top as well. I used this story multiple times before where I hate cabling after my big accident that I had. Just didn't want to do it. So from that piece, I outsourced this to this one company, and I was able to make more money through that in revenue size because of that, and a little bit of profit, and didn't have to do anything. And I got the upsell for all the Arachnus gear that I would sell. So it ended up, those little changes is, there is numbers in success. And what's that phrase that Jeff likes to say all the time, with the tide raises all ships, something like that. So
let me Google it. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, there you go. Because that's beyond, my years from there, probably for all of us. So, but anyway, that's my story for and tips for that. Hope you find that as valuable as we kind of move forward. The next piece that we're going to go into, we don't have a vendor on this week's show. Another item that we did hear that the show was getting very vendor heavy, and we understand. One of the pieces, at least for our thought process, was for two things. One, we were trying to gain a lot more vendors for attraction just to see what our audience would say. And if our audience liked that vendor, we would try to invite them to come to TechCon. That was kind of one of the main reasons of having so many vendors, is to try and give as much exposure to those that we may have heard and would like to know more about, or for some that we haven't heard of and want to invite them to get a little bit more in depth as far as at a personal, on a show level. The other piece too is we just did not have a lot of engagement from the community as far as being guests on the show. And I think that was a big piece of where a lot of the topics that we had were very more MSP centric, more IT business. And I think what has happened is, at that point, Jeff has become very busy with his job. So he has not had a lot of time to do his computer repair business, to provide tips and stories to you all. And then for myself, as everyone has kind of seen my transition, I went from a part-time computer repair shop business owner, went to running it full time for a couple years, and then switching over to being in an MSP, no longer doing computer repair shop, and then growing. So I've seen the scale of what it's kind of gone through, but my mindset has kind of shifted on how I want to see my business at, which may not necessarily be where a lot of business owners who are listening to the show are at. And we're missing that big section of information to include everybody through their journey as an IT business owner, whether it's part-time, whether it's computer repair, whether it's you're just trying to get some recurring services to make some good money, or to scale and be bigger than what you are. So we've identified that as well. So what our hope is for the next coming weeks is we will have less vendor shows. We'll probably have them every once or twice a month, but then we're going to encourage all of you, and we're going to do a lot of outreach to have not only our members in the community to come on and share your stories on either a one-to-one basis or in a group setting like this on a panel, because from a lot of members that I spoke with, it's really these conversations where you get that information. It's really where you get, we're trying to replicate that hallway conversation, that one nugget that you can get that you say, you know what, this was worth my 45 minutes or hour for listening. Because like it or not, we all have to spend our time and prioritize that time. And we appreciate you tuning in every week to hear that. But we understand that, you're looking for a lot more. And the plan is to give you more than what the attention that you're giving us for 45 minutes to an hour a week. So I'm hoping that when we go into this show topic or this conversation, you'll find some nuggets and details that will go from there. But I will go ahead and kind of just maybe toss it over to John. I know that John has had some, again, we brought him on. We had a lot of great ideas, and just really, kind of carry this conversation as a open forum, talk a little bit of details and kind of maybe some goals that we're planning to do in the mix of all that as well.
Well, really quick, thanks to Jerry Bransfield. It's a rising tide lifts all boats. So
thank you very much.
I'm raising my sails. Hey, I don't want to take a lot of time on this because I don't know really what value it provides to the listener listening now. It's more of a clarification. But, why I'm here and what I think we're all doing with MSP Unplugged, and obviously Rick is here. It's important that he's here too, because he doesn't realize he's getting lassoed into all this too a little bit at the beginning. Welcome, Rick. Thanks. No, but I mean, basically, we refocus, reload, put some bigger cartridges into the gun and see what comes out the other end. And my plans or our plans, as we've discussed, is we're going to have more shows coming to the feed. meaning we're still going to focus on a vendor show. We're going to change up the format of that, focus more on value, direct value, quick value. Bringing back the tips, which was about 4 or 5 people hit me up the side of the head with a baseball bat to make sure those came back. So that's really good. And I think we're going to throw some other things into the feed, maybe some reviews. If you have a product you want us to review, or products that we want to review, or things that we've touched, a little bit different, not an unboxing, not under that, any of that sort of thing, but how these products apply to an MSP or a break fix guy or gal out in the field, and what you can expect from that. There's plenty of other places to get product reviews if you just want to learn about a product, but we'll try to tie all that together. And maybe a quick snippet of a show. Definitely, you can expect to hear from me if you're in the Facebook group, because I'm going to try to wrangle you back on the show, and I want to know what's going on with you and what we can do better in the community with MSP Unplugged, the Facebook group, Patreon, TechCon, all that kind of fun stuff. Keep in mind, though, that if you're a Patreon member, you're not going to get dinged for every show we put in the feed. You know, your Patreon to benefit in what you're kindly donating and supporting us with will stay the same. Maybe a little bit of CYA, or just on the business side, you're going to notice just about everything we do now is going to have the little paid promotion tag on it. This video does. That is a little CYA for us. We have to do that for FCC stuff. We're learning as we move forward, because we do put product links that might go to an Amazon store or something like that. We are marketing TechCon Unplugged on these shows. So we just wanted to be clear. With that said, keep in mind, I don't think we've ever had a sponsored show where somebody's actually paid us to do a show or paid us to a review. We have had advertisers on the network, but we've never had a quote unquote sponsored show. Our clarity will be is if we do ever do anything like that, we'll just announce it at the beginning of the show to make sure you guys are aware of what you're watching. The other thing is, you know, I want more feedback. You have my email address and everything I do in the forum. We obviously have it in the show notes. You just poke me. If you want to contribute to the show, if you want to get on the show, if you want to complain about the show, if you want to change the show direction, the only way you can do that is by contacting me. We can't do that if you do nothing. So, and I'll make sure Paco and Jeff get that. You can reach out to them as well. I'm kind of the administrative assistant, or what, it's not Secretary's Day anymore. Excuse that. What is that? Professional Administrator Day. So mark that in your calendar. Make sure you send me a Facebook message and give me a high five on that day, because that's my job here. I'm not the talent. The other two guys have that. And, you know, that's where we're going. That's what we're going to try to do. You know, breathe a little life, a little more fun back into the shows, and just build on what Jeff and Paco have already been doing for the past years. Have I missed anything, guys?
No, I mean, I think, you know, one of the bigger pieces of that, like you mentioned, is that, you know, since we've rebranded the show and are on our own, we have not had a sponsored show, as John has mentioned. You know, that may change, but the goal is that, you know, we'll have enough buy-in and participation that we won't need it. But again, things may change. And really what we're trying to do as well, and Rick can probably kind of talk more about this too, is, you know, we also want to make sure that we can do things together that are pretty straightforward. I think, like, for example, you know, me and Rick have, and over the past couple of months, have been on similar trends on trying to figure out certain tools. You know, the most recent one is Microsoft Intune, or Endpoint Manager. You know, that was a project that me and him have worked back and forth about. And, you know, we would have never got into it until we have saw one of these videos that a member from the tech tribe, his name is escaping me now, Ernest Murray, you know, did on a straightforward user of how do you set up Intune from start to finish. And like, that is the stuff of value that we find, because we don't care about looking into one of the videos and figuring out like, this is what these things do, this is the details you need to take care of. We want a walkthrough guide on how to do it, learn it, and then how do we get better at it, right? And I'll kind of let Rick kind of go off on that, but that's some of the things we're trying to do, because I feel like that's a lot of pieces where, you know, we have heard of, you know, perfect example, we've heard of Azure. You know, we've had Nerdio on here quite a few times. Me personally, am I comfortable with Azure and deploying anything in Azure and getting Windows Virtual Desktop? Negative. That is not something that I have even bothered to research, but understanding the main concept of it would go along more of a long way than it is to try and go, through a vendor or trying to figure it out and then just not really understanding what to do.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, again, with that collaboration, that group collaboration, the community collaboration really comes in handy. Like we have so many things that as techs, as business owners that we're trying to do. And whenever something new comes along or something, not even necessarily new, but something new to you that you haven't necessarily taken on, there's a learning curve and you don't necessarily have the time or the mindset to put in all of the time to learn all of the intricacies of that new whatever it may be. And no one is still going to help your business, but you still got to run the business. You still got to do all the other things, on your day to day. So I think it's great that we find little tidbits like that someone can do a video like that. And hopefully we all as a community can start doing some things like that. Just, introducing new products or again, like I say, it doesn't necessarily have to be new, but introducing new ideas to someone, having some step-by-steps. Because again, we all, if we can see how it works, see how it's done, then we can pick it up. We're all pretty sharp enough to pick it up once it gets done. But what happens is the initial, getting into it. First of all, finding the time, the motivation to learn it, to do it, and then actually, putting the time in then to master it. It all becomes, and then you still got to do all the other things. So it becomes crazy. And I'm going to give an example, and this may be a little embarrassing, but I'm going to say it. Paco and I are working on a documentation format as well. I want to put it on Azure. I watched the video, someone who put it on DigitalOcean. Did it in 20 minutes. I said, I'm going to do it on Azure. Got the whole thing up, could not connect to Azure to get it to work right. So there's something about Azure. Again, Azure drives me absolutely bonkers. It's just the format, the way it looks, whatever. But I could not get it. Could not get DNS to resolve, could not get to the site. And I know it's something simple I was missing, but if I had maybe a little tutorial or step-by-step on it, probably would have got it done in the same 20 minutes. But of course, I'm stubborn. I spent 2.5 days, my whole weekend, trying to figure this out because I was just determined to get it because I'm a tech. I should know how to do this. And I couldn't figure it out. So anyway, I think there's just things like that, from a time factor, everybody say, idiot, you could have just done this or done that and saved yourself 2 days. But, from a time factor and from a perspective of the community, things like that, I think will help a lot for us all.
But see, you said something very specific, and I want to make sure I drive that home for everyone. And that's the difference that I truly believe is different with our community than others that I've seen on either Facebook or other groups and things of that nature, is that you had the internal instinct to not ask for help because you wanted to figure it out. And there may be different reasons on why you didn't ask for help. It could have been pride. It could have been that you didn't want to look dumb to other people. And that's some of the common things that I've heard from other techs and other IT business owners, because they feel that they don't want to be called out as not being a tech, not being an IT business owner, not knowing whatever should know, because how are you even in this industry? You should have known that back in whatever. And that's crap. I mean, that's just, it's one of those where, if you don't, you can either be a fool for 15 minutes or an idiot for the entire lifetime,
or 2 days.
Yeah, and not to just specifically to pick on you though, but it's more of like, I think that we have become a industry that really, really ridicules people that are not on our level, which is wrong. And that is why, when we see any of that type of stuff, it's a complete ban. You're out of the group, and that's it, because it's a safe space to ask any type of question. And when I say any question, it means any question. So like for you, if you had the time to be able to go into MSP Unplugged and post on it, because again, you just didn't have the time because you were focusing and you're trying to figure it out, and you got a life, you got to figure it out. Right. But that's the goal of the group, is to make sure that, like you said, the collaboration is so important, because having that back and forth, even in a conversation, can trigger oh, wait, that's probably what it is. Or someone ran into the exact same issue you ran into. They learned what they needed to do, and they can easily just, hey, this is what you need to do. And that's more valuable than to say, like, why didn't you know that in the begin with? So that's one of the biggest piece of that to understand. That's one. But two, go ahead.
I just want to clear something up. This wasn't a pride thing. It was a pride thing, but it wasn't about, because anybody who knows me know, I'll pick up the phone. Like, I'll call you Saturday night at 9:00 and say, hey, I'm having some trouble with this. But this was one of those things where sometimes you get, and I'm only saying this because I know we all do this sometimes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get such tunnel vision about wanting to complete something. Nothing or no one is going to stand in your way to get it done. Yeah. But it does feed back into what you're saying. I could have quickly and easily posted it up on the community and probably got an answer in 10 minutes.
Right.
And figured out the little twist that I missed it. But
yep. And then just to reiterate too, like, definitely wasn't trying to call you out. That wasn't
no.
No. Like, so just general topics, not only because obviously we give each other sugar honey iced tea all the time.
Yeah. I'm calling you out, Rick. I'm calling you out. Don't worry. Putting it in the show notes.
And so the other piece that I was going to say is the same thing about you coming on the show. Like, there was a time when we were doing the one-to-one interviews, there would be a lot of people that felt they didn't have a story to share. They felt like no one could learn from them. And I can tell you from over, I don't know how many hundreds of episodes that Jeff had did, the many episodes that I did on that same show, and here that we do these panels and such like that, everyone has something to offer. No one experiences things like you. And that is what's valuable for your voice to hear in the community. So again, and we'll probably pressure this on, and John's going to wrangle you for it, is there are many people in our community that we know have a lot of great information, and we really want to have you on the show to share. And I'm going to do this because he's going to hate me for doing it. But Jerry, you owe me a show. So we're going to go ahead and get you on the show. So I think this is one of those where everyone has a story to share. Everyone has an opportunity to provide some type of value, because I'm going to tell you what, there's probably someone else that is thinking about joining the IT industry and doing this, and is probably going to hear your story, and they feel that you closely match to them, and that's going to push them over the edge to join. That's going to I'll go ahead and come onto the show. I mean, I think for me back in the day, it was Jorge Hernandez from 123 Computer Repair, which I believe he rebranded since. It was his call out that said, hey, it doesn't matter with what you know or you don't know. If you have a story to share, come on the show. And that's what caused me to reach out to Jeff. So because for me, I identified with Jorge, because I don't see a lot of Latino IT business owners, IT techs in the industry right now. There's quite a few that I know that had been strong enough to provide their voice in the community. So that was huge for me. And look at me now, I'm damn near running co-founding a company now with it all, and doing a conference for you guys. Like, never back in 2014 when I got involved with this, even a blink in my mind. So it just tells you on how much you have to offer and what you can give back, because it's oftentimes the more often you give, you're going to get that back tenfold. And I'm a true believer of that as well. John, any words you want to chime in on?
Well, I just go back to what I always say. 25 years I've been doing this. The only thing I know for sure is I don't know everything. So
that is true.
And back to the community. I mean, we just don't want to be another MSP community, because there's about 1 billion of them you can join. Yep. So we want to be a little bit unique. We want to bring a lot of the same value, but maybe do it a little differently and hopefully better.
Right. Because the stance for us was really just, there was nobody like us right now. Like, there was no communities that included us, because if we are a phase in an IT business owner's journey, or this is where they want to be, we want to be able to help them with that. right? There are, I mean, and not to knock any of the other groups, but there are some other great groups that are out there that unfortunately for some of the sizes, and I was included in this, they were out of reach for me at the time of me trying to join something like that. Whether it was a monetary value to join their program, the type of people that I felt inadequate, that I just wasn't around, and that was just something with me. So there is some building that needed to be done for myself, and if it hadn't been for this community, I wouldn't be where I am now to get to where I feel that I need to go. So that's just something to carry and really gain forward. And really just know that, this is where the podcast is really going to start going toward. We're going to hopefully have topics that are going to be told, a week in advance or more in advance, so that way, if you want to tune in to listen to it, you have the opportunity to do so. Or if you have a suggestion or you want to come on the show, or maybe there's a vendor we don't know about that you think would be a good fit to have on a panel or something of that nature, we welcome that as well. That's what we're going to plan to do. Is no longer going to be, what's the best way to say this? We're going to have much more intention with the podcast and everything in our efforts, because we want to make sure that, it feels that we have gone astray per se. Just again, like I think Rick said it best, is that me and Jeff were just so tunnel vision on some of the projects that we were doing that now we have realized from feedback that we just need to do better. And that is the plan.
I encourage everyone, if you can, get on the show, come on the show. I mean, we're not a huge community, and I think between all of the get-togethers we've had, we pretty much know each other. Or if you don't know, you've talked to someone via Facebook or however you've communicated. So it's you're among friends, and you're just exchanging ideas, topics, having conversations with your buddies, and you'll learn something, you'll give something, and someone's going to learn from you, and you'll never know. Like it amazes me. The first time I got on the show, I think it was the first or second time, I can't remember which one, I was very nervous and felt like I had nothing to contribute. Jeff and Paco carried all three of these guys. Jeff, Paco, John, I think, all four of you guys were on the show at that time. All three of you guys, and they carried me through the whole show. And then I got feedback from other members in the community. Hey, good job, blah, 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 asking me questions about things. And I'll just say, I guess that was, 4 or 5 years ago, but however, 3, whatever it was. But, so it's a welcoming community. And I think that I heavily encourage everyone to, if you can, and if you're willing, to come on and contribute.
Yep. No, yeah, and I agree. And so I'll take a quick little break before we're coming up to the hour here. But if you're interested in supporting MSP Unplugged and you want to be a part of the Facebook group, which, as I've mentioned before, there may be a chance that we may be migrating out of Facebook and having our own full community platform that, those are some goals for us as well, and some cool things there. Head over to patreon.com/MSP Unplugged. As John had mentioned, it's $1 a show for our weekly show. Any additional things will not be charged to you. And you'll be able to gain access to our community right now in the Facebook private group. It is only those who are members. There are no vendors inside that I'm aware of, unless Jeff added some, but I may be wrong on that. There may be a few close friends of the network in there, but essentially for the most part, it's basically a safe space for you to ask any of your questions, concerns, comments, issues you may be running into, or just you want to share. I mean, I think what a lot of people don't know is that, if you're having a bad day and you need to rant, you're more than welcome to go ahead and just tell about how much of a sugar honey iced tea of a day you've had. And you'll be surprised on how many people can either, comment on, yeah, that's what happened to them, fight the good fight, etc. Or they may be able to help out on a particular issue you're having that caused that day to go sour. I mean, I know that there have been plenty of times I've called John and Rick, for those type of reasons. And, and that's the whole part of the community. Is really quick to add on to it is you just have to show up. Like, that's really the biggest piece. Like, make the decision to show up, whether that is to be a part of the group, be a part of the conference, engage with us outside of the group. listen to the podcast, do that for yourself, because you just don't know of the relationships that you will create. And, you know, you just don't know of the type of rapport. I mean, I think I really just don't even remember when was the first time I met John, now that I think about it. And we have become, and I've been very clear about this. He's a great friend. He has been a huge mentor and very pivotal piece on my success. And I owe a lot to him. You know, I met Rick in 2018 with the bar over when we were at the Unconvention, and we were over at I forgot what bar that was. And we just, you know, we just shot the sugar honey iced tea, and we were just going ahead and really, and we built a rapport, and years later, friends, and able to do so. So it's a lot of that helps you, and because of that rapport and friendship, you're able to do more just to learn and expand yourself as well. So again, if there's anything I leave you with, is attach yourself to a community, reach out. You know, if you have questions, no one's going to bite. No one's going to think you're dumb. No one's going to think you're stupid. Ask your questions, be a part of it, be involved. And if you have a story to tell, which you do, feel free to come and contact us as well. Any closing thoughts before we end up the show here, John or Rick?
Yeah, let me clean up the chat really quick. Kyle, I saw your post about Intune, and I've already added that to the show ideas list that I'm maintaining. So thank you very much. Micromage, I don't know who you are, so reach out to me if you would. That'd be great. And Jerry, I saw your post as well in the chat. You're going to be sorry you posted that. You will surprise us someday and be on a show. I will be reaching out to you shortly. Thank you.
Jerry.
Yeah. So for all those that don't know, you should know Jerry Bransfield, very big champion of the community. If you have not met him, you should meet him at TechCon Unplugged. It is in our home city/state. So feel free to pick his brain. He has a lot of information to give. Rick, anything last thoughts you may have before we end off?
Well, no, well, say it this way. I'm glad we're back this way. And I look forward to what's coming up.
Very cool. So I hope this episode, although it may have felt like a filler, we got some tips in the beginning, but really to help you understand kind of the shape of where we're planning to go. We welcome your feedback. We welcome your information. And for those that have been gone for a while and have came back, we welcome you back. For those that have been astray and you don't, and some of you who are listening know that they are astray, hook, line, and sinker them back over to us and let them know kind of some of the things that we're getting back to basics. So with that, you know, I really appreciate you all tuning in. But again, come join us as of right now, Friday at noon Eastern, 11 Central. You can watch live and hang out in the chat room on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Subscribe and hit the notification button so that you'll never miss an episode. Or you can always listen to us, and you can also, with watching the video, you can also listen to us on audio on your favorite podcasting app, wherever you go. And we're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Amazon Music, so you can ask your Echo to play us as well. We're on Spotify and a lot of the other podcatchers there. So thank you again for listening. We will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.